Mark, we ended the last episode on the opportunities for foreign technology companies in context of the STAR market. Um, let's go into a little bit more detail.
Yeah, so thanks, Sean. So I think, look, it's not really just about the Star Exchange. I think the Star Exchange is just a very strong evidence that a lot of people probably don't realize that there's all these companies out there in China. So a lot of companies, when they think about high tech in China, they think of Alibaba and Tencent, and they forget that there's hundreds of other companies, and the Star Exchange is a large group of these tech-focused new companies who are looking forward. And I think a lot of these companies, they're well cashed up, and they've got a proof of concept, and they may well be a good partner for international companies looking to enter the Chinese market.
And I think that's the bigger point, right, Mark? Is that it's more of the trend. It's not necessarily the Star Exchange itself. And one of the other examples that we have here is the Made in China 2025 program, which kind of also plays up the whole China's repositioning in terms of technology as becoming a technology leader.
Yeah. So I think the thing is, a lot of the the companies we're looking at the moment are digital companies or people doing things like that. I think we're probably missing out a bit at the moment on the companies who are supplying the Chinese industry. And so I think if you look at things like new energy vehicles, you look at autonomous cars, you look at advanced robotics, there will be lots of European and US companies who are suppliers to that industry. And, if China does succeed in leading some of those industries, a lot of those companies, it'll be a market which is too big to ignore here. And so I think that's one factor. Another factor is, there are, policies in place to support Chinese companies becoming more dominant in these high-end and high-tech manufacturing areas. And then also, that's the central government part, but also at the local government level, around Shanghai, there's hundreds of cities and zones who are interested in providing subsidies, low interest loans, free space, tax breaks to those companies that are in these high-tech areas. So I think if you're the right kind of company, China might be a very good place to start. But what I've also noticed is it can be very competitive in these high-tech areas. There's two aspects. Firstly, if you want to sell air filtration technology to Chinese cities, this is difficult to navigate from Germany. You need to be on the ground in China, which is expensive. You have to find the right people to do it, which is difficult. And then if you're a tech company and you're building up your business in Europe, you don't really have the bandwidth to, in parallel, build up a Chinese company, adapt the product or the service to the Chinese market. They're able to react quickly to a tender. So that's why I think, a lot of these leading international tech companies, probably it is time for joint ventures. But 15 years ago, I thought joint ventures are very difficult. Now I think if you find the right partner, a joint venture in China can be, the very best option for you.
I think that's a very good point. A lot of Chinese companies are looking not outside of China, but inside China as their major market. And there are a lot of other factors that are making that so too. I mean, you've alluded earlier to, of course, the US and Europe. Maybe we can cover a little bit of some of the other factors that are causing this repositioning.
Yeah, so I think, look, I think the reason why a lot of Chinese companies look at their own economy is because their economy is the one that's growing, but also they're familiar with their economy. And so, it's been for the last 10 years, when you're talking to people, Chinese companies will often have the mindset, I can make a much better return in China, but I had to go overseas, to secure things and get ready. And I think now at the moment, it's really the domestic market. And that's where they can add value. It's, it's already come out of this depression due to COVID, and it's in growth, and it's, slated for, quite exceptional growth this year. So I think times are changing. It's probably going to become the biggest economy in the world very soon. And I think people will want to come in here and into China. And I think these Chinese companies understand it. And I think what they think is they can super scale a business much quicker within China because they know the rules, they've got a network, they've got an infrastructure. And then I think, also if you look at the digital market, a lot of these things like AI, fintech, e-commerce, blockchain, high-tech manufacturing, China's already one of the biggest players. So you probably need to be in there. But it can be difficult to conquer the market by yourself. So we've got other cases where Chinese companies did invest overseas, but the whole idea was to let the overseas company run itself, be a bit of an R&D center, run its geography, but bring that back to China and supersize it for the Chinese market. And then I think the other thing is perhaps urbanization. So a lot of the high tech we're seeing now, like drones, new energy vehicles, high-speed trains, environmental connection, it's all about cities. It's about that. And which place has got more densely urban areas than China, which are right for these mega city type improvement projects. So I think smart cities and things like that, they're all interlinked. And so I think China will be at the forefront there. And so it's a very big market for all these companies. And then finally, I guess the US-China tech war probably won't fully abate, will perhaps be a little bit less emotive than under the previous American administration. But I think China is keen to make sure it develops its own indigenous tech and not be fully reliant. I think, look, I think China's a big importer of foreign technology, and that's not a problem. But probably you don't want to be in a situation where you're fully reliant on technology. So I think this is an area where you can also imagine the Chinese government will be happy if some of the tech finds its way here.
I've been hearing you talk about China as the market to be for years, Mark. And back in those days, you would say it's going to be the place to be. But it seems that now, considering all of these factors you've talked about, like you said, it's no longer the place to be, it's the place you should be, and the time is now. So maybe we can talk a little bit about some of these theoretical cooperation models that you've kind of thought up of.
Yeah, so I think these are a bit untested. I mean, these are just ideas. I think the interesting thing about the Star Exchange is you need revenue and a proof of concept, but you don't need to be profitable. So one of the issues with the old stock exchange in Shanghai is it's conservative, it's inflexible, it's not easy to get listed. So it wasn't really that suitable for young, aggressive companies. So I think the Star Exchange makes something possible. And so I think one of the issues will be, we could perhaps see a tech company providing technology to China. You'll get local government support, you'll do the innovation, then you license the technology out to other companies. Now, there'll be some issues there where you co-own the IP, whether that would be enough to support an IPO, because people are a bit worried about IPOs if you're too reliant on someone else's technology or just on one customer. But I think this will be something we could perhaps see. We're seeing this already with one university from Europe that set up a WFOE in China. And the idea is to do innovation and then to commercialize that innovation for China, get the improvements back to Europe, but the innovation within China will be like it will have a common ancestor. So the European technology may evolve in one way and the Chinese technology may evolve in a different way. And I think this is an exciting thing to see. It wouldn't be unheard of. I mean, I think we've seen it in the last years. There's quite a lot of European and American companies when there's been a merger, that the technology is intertwined, and when they break apart, there are issues, but it never really disrupted business too much. So this could be something that we will see going forward.
Thanks a lot for that, Mark. This is just one of the possible cooperation models, but we will cover a little bit more in more detail some of the other step-by-step process of how this cooperation model can play out. So please skip on to the next video. Thanks for watching. All right.